Hi everyone and welcome to Jane Talks Real. It's Wednesday and that means it's nostalgia time! Every week I will be discussing something from my childhood, TV shows, movies, video games, etc. and looking at what made them so memorable. There is something about nostalgia that is very bonding. When you find someone who also remembers something obscure from your childhood, it's a great and warming feeling. For my first outing, I'm going to be looking at the greatest show ever made. It was my Saturday night in a nutshell.
Contenders, ready! Gladiators, ready!
Holy crap, Gladiators was the best thing on TV in the 90s and it shaped me as an adult. So for those of you who don't know, Gladiators involved active members of the public competing in games against absolute machines of human beings called gladiators to win an advantage in the final challenge, an assault course called the Eliminator. The winner of the overall series would win some combination of money, a car or a holiday, and it was hosted by Ulrika Jonsson and John Fashanu, and later Jeremy Guscott. It ran from 1992 to 2000 and guys, it was the best thing ever! I was 5 years old when it first came on TV and I was mesmerised. My favourite gladiators was Saracen, who I totally had a crush on when I was old enough to have a crush, and Lightning, who I desperately wanted to grow up to be. But the cast didn't stop there. There was the highly popular Jet, I wonder why, the embodiment of a panto villain, Wolf, absolute giants like Shadow and Warrior, the Joker of the pack, Cobra, Nightshade who destroyed everyone in her path. There were so many gladiators, and although there were some who didn't stand out like the others, I wanted so much to be like them. I owe my physical strength and mental spirit to watching Gladiators. The referee for the show was as iconic as the gladiators that competed, and that was John Anderson, whose Scottish yelling and keeping Wolf under control was the icing on top of the cake. There were some truly spectacular events on this show. My favourite was Hang Tough, but when you have moments like this, can you blame me? Hang Tough was described as aerial chess, where the contender and gladiator would swing across rings. The contender would try to get to the gladiator's platform and the gladiator would try to stop them. It was a really hard game with many contenders struggling to even make it from the first set of rings. But those who were able to hang tough, or indeed make it across, went down in the show's history. Gauntlet was a little lame in the early days, but when it was fully realised, the contender had to run down a 5-section gauntlet and not get mashed by the 5 gladiators standing in their way. This was always an exciting game, with some contenders blasting through in mere seconds.
The next good effort, can't hold him. Hunter doesn't even get close. Here's Cobra. He's through.
While others couldn't make it past the first section, especially if Rhino was blocking the way. You could also get thrown out of the gauntlet, and don't quote me on it, but I think it might be the game with the most amount of disqualifications, because it was such a hectic game and it was hard to hear referee instructions over the noise of the game and the crowd. Powerball was a physical and exciting game. It was a combination of rugby and basketball. The contenders had to run across the pitch and dunk softballs into one of the 5 baskets while 3 gladiators tried to stop them. It was a very physical game which made it so exciting to watch, but I preferred to watch the guys play this one just because of the insane tackles. Now, just so I'm not gushing about gladiators for the entire video, let's look at things that didn't work so well. Dogfight was a pretty lame game in my opinion. It seemed to take longer to hoist the participants up into the contraption than the span of the actual event. The idea was to hit the sensor on your opponent's body armour twice to win, but it didn't seem to work half the time. The sensor would be hit, but it wouldn't activate, and a complaint would often go into John Anderson after the event ended. Tilt was the worst idea for a game in the history of gladiators. The gladiator would be on a high tilting platform with a contender on the lower one, with a tug-of-war rope between them. The idea was to pull the other one off, but with the gladiator up so high and the unpredictability of the tilt table, there was some pretty nasty injuries. The most notable being Panther, who was out of action for the rest of the season and retired after the following one. Pyramid was a fan favourite event, but I hated it for the same reason as Tilt. It was dangerous. Contenders would climb a big squishy pyramid while 2 gladiators would tackle or push them back to the bottom. This is the event that had such a bad accident on it, the episode wasn't even aired. Jet, probably the most popular gladiator, would have, according to doctors, died had she not been so flexible. She heard and felt her neck crack as she hit the bottom and it ended her gladiator career. Also, the show was rife with scandal, with Shadow being fired for using drugs, Warrior doing jail time twice for different things, and Ulrika allegedly had affairs with Rhino, Hunter and a cameraman. Not at the same time, I might add. But all that aside, I love this show and it brings me so much joy. The show itself was iconic just for the final element of the Eliminator, the Travelator, which was the downfall of so many contenders, and probably the reason why so many 90s kids got in trouble for running up the down escalator in shopping centres. At some point I'll be doing a video on the reboot of Gladiators, but that's going to be more of a Monday video thing. So there you have it. Did you watch Gladiators as a kid? If so, who were your favourites and what events did you love? Let me know in the comments or come say hi on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and subscribe. Join me next time where I'll be talking about a magical cartoon involving gnomes. I'll speak to you soon, and thanks for watching.